Okay, so I want to talk about trying hard. And I want to talk about it in the context of applying to things. I have a ton of friends right now who are looking for jobs as software engineers, and they're having a really hard time. And so I want to talk about trying hard in the sense of when you're applying to a job, when you're applying to a program, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason I want to talk about that is because of this guy. So if you don't know Aaron Francis, he is probably the most genuine guy I know. Don't know him personally, just know him through Twitter. Have had a couple phone calls with him. But he's a dad to two twins. He's a developer. He used to be a developer advocate at PlanetScale. He's done a lot of like really cool things, and he just puts out a lot of like positive stuff. And I really appreciate his attitude and his like viewpoints on life and work and all of that. So, anyways, Aaron wrote this article. What if you tried hard? And so this was in March. And so the reason I want to talk about this is because I think Aaron wrote some really good stuff here that we can all kind of learn from. And he talks about, basically the summary of his article is kind of like the bar is low. And so when you're applying for jobs, some of the examples he gives is you can really stand out against other applicants by just following the instructions. But there's other things you can do to kind of increase your chances. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today with a real example. So we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, to give this example, Adam Wathan, creator of Tailwind CSS, was like, it's wild, but 90% of applicants don't even follow the instructions. So literally, if you want to be in the top 10%, the very bare minimum you can do is follow the instructions. But, you know, it's really easy to read an article like this and say like, oh yeah, it was easy for Aaron, or for me to send this to a friend and be like, dude, you just got to try harder. And so today I wanted to kind of share how I'm applying, I guess, my own advice or Aaron's advice of like what it means, what it looks like for me when I'm like, okay, I'm going to try hard on this thing. So that's what I want to talk about today. So the example I want to share is a real example. So Lenny, if you know Lenny, if you don't know Lenny, he's got a very popular newsletter. It has over 600,000 readers, and a lot of it is around startups, products, growth, career stuff. He has a job board. He has a podcast. But anyways, a week ago, he was like, hey, I'm running a fellowship program, a newsletter fellowship. And the whole idea is that he wants to help 3 people who, let's say, work full-time and are thinking about going this like solopreneur creator route. He wants to give them a shot to learn with him, to start their own thing, build their own audience, and he's going to pay them. So it's 10 grand a month for 3 months. And I was like, that sounds pretty interesting to me, especially as someone who's like done stuff in the indie hacking realm. I've tried newsletters, I've tried podcasts. And so I was like, I want to give this a shot. So for me, I kind of want to talk about my thoughts around applying for this, how I went about it, what I did, and how I'm trying hard. So the first thing, I did was pull this up. Okay, what does the application look like? What is he asking for? It's due on the 20th. So it's like, okay. Just kind of taking a look, scanning it, and then kind of coming up with, like, giving myself space to kind of write the first draft. And so for me, the checklist was kind of like, let's write the first draft, let's take a break, let's do these other things, let's review, blah, blah, blah. So the first thing was kind of like, let's extract these questions and write a first draft of the answers. And so the thing I want to point out is what we talked about before of following the instructions, right? So very first thing, 3 to 5 bullets. So he doesn't want a paragraph, he wants bullets, right? 3 to 5 lessons. So again, they're using like bullets. The other thing of how you can kind of stand out is like, here he says you can link to a video here if you prefer. So it's optional, but let's say if 1,000 people apply, he's probably going to filter down by the people who have a video here. So again, doing something else to kind of stand above that 10%, the top 10%. Again, optional questions here at the end. If he has to filter out, he might be filtering out by people who have answered all of the questions. So that's kind of where my brain's at when I'm kind of scanning this and figuring out, okay, what am I going to do to stand out and to try hard? So again, wrote those all out, took a break, and then I was like, okay, what else can we do to kind of stand out? And so one of the things I thought about was, again, from Aaron. In the kind of tweet thread when he shared this, one of the things that he did to stand out for a job application was he wrote a dedicated like one pager for a company. So this is for a company called Tuple that was like a screen sharing platform. And so Ben, one of the founders, said like, hey, I'm hiring for whatever. And so he put together this quick page on his site, some like developer things he did, what he's currently doing, and references. And I was like, dude, that's genius. And it's still up on his site. So I was like, I'm going to try doing the same. So I put together joeprova.com/Lenny. And again, trying to keep it simple, assuming that if he does look at this, it should be quick for him to read. So using bullets, throwing in a video, right? Why? Because here he said, why do you want to do this? And so I was like, okay, should we do Loom or YouTube? I went with Loom just because I like that Loom has kind of like the speed adjuster built in, right? So it's like immediately going to be turned on for him. He can kind of speed through it. So I'm prioritizing his time in a way, if that makes sense. It's got a title. It's got a summary. I can also see it if he watches it. Like I haven't shared this link with anyone else until this video. So hopefully I can see if somebody sees my application. So again, win-win-win-win for everyone. Also, Loom is a popular tool for working async. And one of the things that he talks about, I don't know if it was in here or the post. Yeah, here we go. All async and remote, right? So kind of showing like, hey, look, like I have experience, working remotely in async. So it's just kind of like the little things that to me, I think will help me stand out as an applicant. The other thing, originally, I was just going to have the link here. And my friend was like, dude, you should embed it. Like I almost missed the Loom link. Like genius. Another thing, right? So if we go into here, he said writing samples. And originally I was just going to do like link. And I was like, wait, that's hard to parse just reading it. So let's do this. So it's like, let's add it to the page. And as an added bonus, thanks to like HTML, I can link directly to it. So again, assuming a human reviews this, oh, come on. First thing you're going to do is see like, okay, here's this guy's website. Okay, Lenny, he has a page dedicated to Lenny, and then writing samples. Literally like exactly what they asked for again, right? So doing these little minor details that I think will help me stand out as an applicant. So again, the thing, when I submitted this application earlier this week, it was kind of like Loom, link, and then link here. So to me, that's kind of like, if we kind of count that, right, of like step one is just, following the instructions of it, right? Like using bullet points, that's level 1. Level 2, adding a video. Level 3, adding writing samples. Level 4, adding the link, right? So kind of 4 things, 4 multipliers, so to speak, of trying to help me increase my chances. Again, other things, liking the post. I liked it like 6 days later. So if he does check LinkedIn notifications, like mine shows up a lot later than some of the others. Adding a comment. Again, another opportunity for a notification. Kind of pulling this idea of retargeting from digital marketing, hoping that he kind of sees me in all these different places. The other thing I did, after I submitted my application, screenshotted it, tagged him, he liked it, right? So kind of, again, trying to get that idea of this like retargeting. And I think that's something that you can do for the job market too. Like if you know who the hiring manager is or who the teammates are, you know, that kind of thing. So I think that's it. Trying to think if there's anything else. The other thing was, you know, just reading Lenny's newsletter, like revisiting, like, you know, I think what I did was I went to podcast and I think I searched for engineering or something. Maybe here. Engineering. Right. And so then kind of looking at like, what is some of the language here? Like, what are the things that he points out as takeaways? Can I tie that into my application? Right? Because here the idea is like, if I write something that sounds like he wrote it, it's going to resonate with him because he's like, oh, that sounds familiar. Or like, oh yeah, totally agree. Like fostering productive relationships between product managers is a great idea. You know what I mean? Assuming that he is the one to review the application. So just these are kind of some of the things that I've kind of like picked up over the years of what can I do to try harder and kind of stand out as an applicant. So yeah, that's to me what I wanted to share about trying harder and a real example of me trying harder with an application. I wanted to share this in case it's helpful for you. Just because, you know, it's like I said, it's very easy for me to read this and be like, oh yeah, duh. Or to send it to a friend and be like, dude, just do this. But it's another thing to be like, hey, here's how I'm trying it. I don't know if it's going to work. You know, this is super competitive, but it's worth a shot, you know. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. If it is, let me know in the comments below. But cheers. Thanks for watching.